No, go to 6 now. 6 says, neither Mark nor Ben leads the team. Neither Mark nor Ben leads the team. All right. So there we can see Mark. So you can see Mark, and then you can also see we have Mark singular, we have Ben also singular. Then the verb that is closer to Ben is leads. Okay. So there you underline Ben. When you underline Ben, you point your arrow down on the second line, the third line, you write your S1. So Ben becomes our S1, and then we have leads. Okay. We have leads, you underline leads, and when you leads with S, that's singular verb, third person singular verb, you underline it, and when you underline it, you point your arrow down on the second line, and then the third line, you write your V1. So we have Ben as our S1, and we have leads as our V1. It is therefore wrong of you to say neither Mark nor Ben lead the team. If you say that, it means your S1 has taken V2, okay? Yes, it means your S1 has taken V2. Therefore, the correct form is neither Mark nor Ben leads the team. All right. When you say neither nor, okay. So you go to 7. 7 says, not only Matthew, but also Charles scores a goal. Not only Matthew, but also Charles scores a goal. So now that we have Matthew singular, we have Charles is also singular, and the verb that is close to Charles, okay, is singular. So you can see scores there. So there you underline Charles. When you underline Charles, you point your arrow down on the second line. The third line, you write your S1. And you have scores a goal. Under that structure, scores a goal. You underline scores, and you point your arrow down on the second line. The third line, you write your V1. So we have our Charles there as our S1, as our taking scores as our V1. So it is wrong of you to say neither Matthew, to say neither. Okay, sorry. What we have here is not only Matthew, okay? Not only Matthew, but also Charles scores a goal. Not only Matthew, but also Charles scores a goal. So we have Matthew there as a singular now. We also have Charles as singular now, okay? So there we have our Charles. It's very close to the verb. You underline Charles, and when you underline Charles, you point your arrow down on the second line, and the third line, you write your S1. So Charles is our S1, and then scores a goal. Under that structure, you underline scores. And when you underline scores, you point your arrow down on the second line, the third line, you write your V1. So we have our Charles as our S1, as our taking scores as a V1. It is therefore wrong of you to say not only Matthew, but also Charles score a goal. When you say that, it means Charles is our S1, and then scores is our V2. So you add your S to Charles. So the correct form becomes not only Matthew, but also Charles scores a goal. So from there we go to example 8. Example 8 says, either the principal or his vice arrives today. Either the principal or his vice arrives today. So under that structure, we have principal singular, we have vice also singular. So you underline, so you can see that vice is close to arrives, which is the verb. So you underline vice, and when you underline vice, you point your arrow down on the second line, the third line, you write your S1, okay? Then we have arrives. So when you underline arrives and you point your arrow down on the second line, then the third line, you write your V1. So there we have vice as our S1, and you have arise as our V1, okay? Vice as our S1, and the arise as our V1. It is therefore wrong of you to say either the principal or the vice arrive today. If you say that, it means you have taken vice as S1, and you have assigned arrive as our V2, which is wrong. So the correct form is either the principal or the vice arrives today. Go to our example 9. 9 says either CNN or BBC casts, okay? Either CNN or BBC casts the news. Either CNN or BBC casts the news. So under that structure, you can see that we have CNN, a media house, that is one, and then we have a BBC, another media house. Okay, so what we have BBC close to the verb, so you underline BBC, and when you underline BBC, you point your arrow downward in the second line, the third line, you write your S1, okay? Then the verb that followed BBC here is casts. So casts there is third person singular verb. So you underline it, and when you underline casts, you point your arrow downward in the second line, the third line, you write your V1. So we have BBC as our S1 and has taken casts as our V1. So it is wrong of you to say either CNN or BBC cast the news. If you say that, it means you have identified BBC as a singular subject, but you have assigned a plural subject to it. It is therefore wrong. The correct form is either CNN or BBC casts the news. So we go to our example 10. Example 10 says, neither Al Jazeera nor TVC advertises our product. Neither Al Jazeera nor TVC advertises our product. So under that structure, you can see we have Al Jazeera, a media house, and we have TVC, another media house. So immediately after TVC, that is where the verb appears, and we have a noun. So you underline TVC. When you underline TVC, you point your arrow downward in the second line, the third line, you write your S1, okay? And then you look at a noun advertises, okay? Advertises. So advertises there has an S at the end, which is third person singular verb. So you underline advertises, and when you underline advertises, you point your arrow downward in the second line, the third line, write your V1. So we have TVC has taken is our S1 and has taken a noun as our V1. So it is wrong of you to say neither Al Jazeera nor TVC advertise our product. If you say that, it means you have identified TVC as a singular subject, but you have assigned a noun as a plural verb. So it is wrong. The correct form therefore remains neither Al Jazeera nor TVC advertise our product. So that is the end of what we have for you today until we meet again in the next 24 hours. Have a very beautiful evening from Be Tellurite.